$84 trillion is set to change hands over the next 20 years. Whether you're passing it down or inheriting it, the decisions you make today will shape your family's financial future for generations. Welcome to the Great Wealth Transfer, where David Pulcini, CFP, guides you through the strategies, insights, and pitfalls of navigating one of the largest financial shifts in history. What you don't know could redefine your legacy.
Money often costs too much. That is a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And let that sink in. Money often costs too much. Because for many people, receiving a large sum of money doesn't just change their financial situation, it changes their identity, their relationships, and sometimes it could change their sense of purpose. It could be an inheritance, a lawsuit settlement, a business sale, or even a lottery win. I've seen that. But sudden wealth is one of the biggest financial transitions a person can go through. And here's the kicker. Sudden wealth is often temporary unless you treat it with intention. So if you haven't figured that out today, we're talking about sudden wealth and how to think about it, what to avoid, and how to make sure it becomes a blessing instead of a burden. And I want to start off with a few stats that should stop you in your tracks. And everybody knows this. I feel like everybody knows this, but it's always crazy to hear. 70% of lottery winners go broke within 5 years. 1/3 of NFL players file for bankruptcy within 2 years of retirement. And they retire young typically, right? Roughly 1 in 3 heirs spends their entire inheritance within 24 months. It's 1 out of 3 of you are spending all of the money that you've inherited within 2 years, right? 90% of families lose their wealth by the 3rd generation. 90%, 9 out of 10. Money is gone. Got it? A couple more here. Lottery winners often report higher rates of depression and family conflict after receiving their windfall. Very interesting. And then I see this one all the time. 30% of retirees withdraw too much from their retirement accounts in the first 5 years. So why does this happen so often? And again, we've all heard these stories over and over. Why does it keep happening? Personally, just from what I deal with, I think it's because the habits of earning and saving, investing, and being smart have not been developed, right? For most folks, they live beyond their means and they don't plan now. So it only makes the problem worse when there's a windfall of any kind. And I want to make a line here, a differentiator. I do see a huge difference in lotto winners, for example, versus people who have built and sold a business. Right? That's 2 totally different things. Why? Because I think the different mentalities of these two different groups. One bought a ticket and was literally gambling, right? And got lucky. And the other one most likely built something from the ground up and went through the grind. Now, a good combination might be the business owner mentality who then wins the lotto, but most of those folks aren't gambling consistently. So, but why? Let me ask another question. Why are most of the people receiving sudden wealth going through it so quickly? And the answer is that most people don't have a framework for handling a financial windfall. So folks mistake access to wealth for a strategy to keep it. So I'm hoping this episode can fix that. So let's talk about this. Sudden wealth is a temporary spike in income. And this is the first mindset shift that we need. Sudden wealth is not a steady stream. Like I said, it's a one-time spike. And if you treat that $1 million, for example, that windfall, like it's the beginning of unlimited abundance, you'll likely burn through it before you even realize what happened. Okay? Let me give you a quick example. If you inherit or earn $1 million and you spend $300,000 on, we'll call it upgrades, gifts, a vacation in the first year, what you've really done is shrink that potential income for life. This is what we think of as financial advisors. $1 million invested at like 4 to 7%. would generate between $40,000 and $70,000 per year indefinitely without touching the principal. That is your money working for you. 1 million at 4 to 7%, 40,000, 70,000 forever. But when we spend a big chunk of that, that's gone. Okay. We want it in there, earning interest, paying indefinitely. And that is what real financial freedom looks like. Okay. Another one that I see is when retirement feels like a lottery ticket. This is more rare, but we do see this. And it's something that most people overlook. Retirement itself often feels like sudden wealth. After saving for decades, you log into that 401k or IRA and you see 7 figures for the first time. And emotionally, it can feel like you just won the money, not that you've earned the responsibility, we'll call it, to manage that money for the next 30 years. So retirement savings isn't a reward to go and spend. It's a paycheck to replace the one that you used to earn. If someone retires with 1.2 million and treats it like prize money, I'll give you an example. They took $100,000 out in the first year to upgrade the kitchen. They gifted $50,000 to their family and they maybe moved the rest into some cash or high risk bets just in case. And just like that, maybe they're not broke, but the entire retirement plan is totally off track. So, and let me back up here. I want to be clear about this. You should absolutely enjoy your money. It's there for a reason. It's there. It's a tool, but we should be doing it with a plan that preserves both your joy and your security. Okay. Let me get into the 4 mistakes that we see with sudden wealth. Number 1 is spending before thinking. And I think this is the big one. The emotional, we'll call it the relief or rush, leads to overspending. Homes, toys, early retirement, debt payoffs that they might not make sense before the recipient or the person that got that money has a clear picture of their financial future. I had a friend who inherited $900,000, and within 18 months, she was down to $110,000. And you can think about that. That's like immediate regret, right? And her regret wasn't the spending, actually. It was that she didn't pause and take a break and plan for it. So I would say as an action item, a better approach to any type of sudden wealth, if it's not planned for ahead of time, is to create, I would say, a 90-day no spend rule. Park that money, process the moment, and then build a strategy. Okay. Second mistake I see, ignoring the tax implications. $1 million inheritance might sound like a dream, but if it's in an IRA, it's fully taxable. If it's company stock, you might trigger long-term gains in ordinary income. And if it's a house that's rapidly appreciated, and I guess it depends on how it was titled, but whether or not there's a step up in basis, remember there may be taxes on this. And some tips to keep in mind. Just remember this. Don't assume all of the money is yours. Talk to a CPA. We've talked about this a lot. Consider Roth conversions if there's a short-term income dip. Be careful about selling assets too quickly or too slowly, right? We had a client inherit a rental property and it was held in a trust. And because the trust was not structured properly, and we met this person afterwards, she owed $180,000 in unexpected capital gains when she sold it. Just need to make sure that's done properly. All right. Mistake number 3, trusting the wrong people. I'll say it this way. Here comes the business pitches, the real estate flips, the startup ideas. Sudden money attracts sudden opportunities, right? Often from friends, cousins, professionals with titles and nice suits. I want to say it this way. If you wouldn't have gone into business with them when you had nothing or less, don't do it now. Now, I do understand once in a while, because you now have the money, there are typically new real opportunities that do come up. What we do need to have either way is a vetting process. Take your time. Build a team who works for you, not people who want a piece of that money or a piece of you, right? All right, mistake number 4, not having a plan, okay? Not creating a written plan is one of the most dangerous decisions you can make. And I'm going to fire off some questions here, but these are things that a plan can answer. And how much better would this feel to know this ahead of time, right? How much can I spend without running out? What's my number? How much risk can I take? How do I minimize my taxes? How do I protect this money legally? How do I use it to help others without hurting myself? Okay. A goal without a plan is just a wish. Let's stop wishing. Let's make the plan. All right. I want to talk about the behavioral side of sudden wealth too, and zoom out for a minute, because money isn't just numbers. It's behavior, emotion, identity for a lot of folks. And when someone receives sudden wealth, they also receive pressure, guilt, excitement, fear of loss is a big one, family tension with your friends too, right? So let's ask the right questions to process this properly. What does this money mean to me? If all of a sudden out of nowhere you were given $3 million or you won $3 million, what does that mean? Is it freedom? Is it responsibility? Is it validation? Is it more anxiety? What does it mean? Second question I would ask is, what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of losing it? Am I afraid of judgment from others? Afraid of making a mistake? This is a whole different set of issues for most folks, right? You're not thinking of this until it happens, okay? Another question is, what would I do if I couldn't tell anyone I received this money? So that is typically a recommendation I make. I just put out a video about this. It's one of the first, if I were to have this happen or inherit a large sum or win the Powerball, I probably wouldn't tell anybody for a long time. And that cuts through ego and peer pressure and expectations that people have. Human beings can't help it. They have expectations if you go out and you win $60 million, right? Next time you go out to dinner with your family and friends, who do they just automatically think is now paying the bill? All right, whether you want to or not, that's up to you, but that would be expected almost, right? So another question, how can I use this money to support my own long-term values, not just the short-term desires that come with getting this newfound money, okay? Who can I trust to help me with these decisions, and who do I need to set boundaries with? That is really important. If you can ask and answer those questions, you will be so far ahead of the curve. You'll be way ahead of most folks, and hopefully those things make you think enough to not want to go out and spend all of it and be one of those statistics. So I'm going to give you a success story and a real-world example of someone who handled it well. A client recently sold her family business and received about $2.5 million. So she was 52 years old when she did this, and instead of reacting, we had a plan in place before, but she came to us first, and what we planned on was we allocated $1.3 million just into a diversified account. We used $500,000 to pay down some business debt that she had and upgrade her home heading into her own retirement. We saved $250,000 for her kids' education, and we kept $250,000 in cash at the bank so that she could sleep at night. That was just her number, okay? If you're doing the math on that, some of that obviously we had to use for taxes as well. But today, she's semi-retired. She's doing volunteer work. I would say she has peace of mind, not because she has money, but because she had and still has a plan, okay? So let me give you the framework to handle this sudden wealth very quickly here, and then we'll wrap this up. Step number 1, take a pause. No big decisions for 90 days, okay? Step 2, assemble the team. Maybe while you're taking that pause, you're thinking about who you're working with. You need the CFP, you need a CPA, you need an estate planning attorney at a minimum, okay? Reviewing insurances and all the other things. So that's step 2. Step 3, give your dollars a job. Every dollar should have a purpose. What are we doing with it? What's the plan for those dollars? How are we being taxed? Okay. Step 4, protect it. Think, again, insurances, legal structures, proper titling. We've talked a lot about that throughout these episodes. And step number 5, communicate and commit, especially with family. Set the expectations early and clearly. All right. Closing thoughts here. Sudden wealth doesn't just test your finances. It tests your identity, your relationships, and your long-term values. And the good news about this is, if we don't know how to handle all of this, is you don't have to do it alone. We have a number of people that have come in after they've had a sudden wealth event, and sometimes we're able to plan for it ahead of time because maybe it's a business sale, okay? Or they know that they're going to get an inheritance, and we can help them plan and we can walk them through the process. So with the right mindset and the right team, this can be the most powerful financial moment of your life and not the most regrettable one, which I see too often, okay? If you or someone you care about is facing or expecting a windfall, you should walk through that sudden wealth transition plan, okay? If you need help, let us know. It's simple, personal, built to protect you from the mistakes that we just talked about, all right? We'll end it there for now. Make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Great Wealth Transfer Podcast. If this podcast resonates with you, reach out to 6 Point Financial Partners at 585-485-6048 or email dpulcini@6pointfp.com.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. Information here is provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither 6 Point Financial Partners, Private Client Services, nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of 6 Point Financial Partners. They do not necessarily represent those of Private Client Services, RFG Advisory, their employees, or their clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by 6 Point Financial Partners or RFG Advisory, or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives through Private Client Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory LLC, RFG Advisory, or RFG. A registered investment advisor. Private Client Services, 6 Point Financial Partners, and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.